Yeah, well, thank you very much for Halstead for coming along, and all the members here. We're very pleased to see you all. I think we've met in person a couple of years ago, so it's nice to see you all again and looking hopefully well, and everybody's keeping well. Tonight's competition's been run through Jill Adams. So I'm just going to hand straight over to Jill and ask her if she can kick off.
You should be seeing the first image.
I can.
Back very nice from somewhere. That's the last of the preview.
Okie doke. Right. Well, we've got a good wide selection tonight, so it's going to be quite challenging. Right. Okay. This could be Scotland or the Lake District or somewhere like that. It could well be Scotland because it's overcast and grey, but nevertheless, you've still got plenty of light, haven't you? I mean, so though you haven't got you've got an overcast day, you've got an amazing amount of reflections in that water here, and the way the light is hitting the top of the mountains here. And I like the way the light's hitting the grasses at the front, just in the water here. Just make them stand out a little bit more and give them some interest to the foreground here. I'm sure that's a very photographed tree. It's convenient you put yourself in the right place. And in winter, obviously, you've got no leaves, so you can enjoy the shape of it very, very much. And you've got a sort of bigger bit and a smaller bit, and the tree balances itself out very well. And of course, very conveniently, it's in the third as well. So quite a moody sky, I think, as well, which goes with the scene. The water, plus you've used a filter here because the water looks quite sort of flattened out, but you've still got some detail in it here. I think with the background, I mean, the light is falling on the mountains, but you're never going to get light on every single thing. The bit that's got the most detail is the central part here and less at the sides here. I don't think it needs a boat or anything like that. And I think you've got the tree. That's a good sort of point for you to go to and to lead you to it as well. And I think you've got enough foreground here. You've got a bit of the gravel and the sort of rough ground here, but it just gives us a lead into the lake here itself. So yeah, I think that works very well. So that was going to be a whole back one.
Cuban car.
Okay. Yeah, these cars I think are American cars, and they're sort of preserved, aren't they, over there? You know, if you see a picture of Cuba, you often see these cars, and this has been done quite well, I think. You know, you've given it an almost sort of a line drawing background, very sort of very soft mono, and you've got this lovely contrasting blue and white against it here, and the two go together very well. I think if you had colour in the background, I think that car probably wouldn't stand out so well. So I think that sort of using those two, that muted sort of background, I think works. And I quite like the fact you've got this sort of like a bit of wire. There's almost a sort of blue colour here as well. It just breaks up the grey a little bit, but it also contrasts well with the car. It's in the right spot. You've got room for it to move into. Okay, it's not going anywhere. The driver's perhaps gone for a beer. But if you imagine it was moving, it's got somewhere to go into here. And we've got enough of the background here. We've got a hint of the buildings here. We know the kind of environment that it's in, but they're not overpowering the car here. And I think quite sort of soft lighting here as well. Nothing too harsh. But again, it's still bringing out detail in the car, and it's showing off the shape of that bumper very well. So, you know, it's a simple sort of picture, but I think it works very well. So we'll go for a 16 on that one, please. I have to get my head into 20s here. Right. Yeah, it's a bit of story, this one, isn't it? I think they're screws or something, but they could be people, couldn't they? Just sort of sitting there looking at other artwork here. And they're obviously looking perhaps at a reflection of themselves or a village, if I don't know, in that picture on the wall here. And in contrast, that you've got this lovely sort of soft yellows of the plants on the left-hand side. If you imagine the sort of people, they're almost fascinated by this, you know, sort of similarity between that on the wall and themselves. I think again with this, you know, the background I think works. It's a very muted grey. I don't think you want to get colour in it because it would take away, it would impact on the objects at the front here. But the only real bright colour is the yellow. But it's quite a muted yellow, having said that, and it doesn't overrun the picture, but it does stand out, but it's not too powerful. I think the lighting here is good. The metal bits have certainly got a nice shine on them here, and the lighting sort of shows their shape here very well. And I like the way they're sitting on the bench. It's brilliant who designed that. It looks so real, but it's not. It's just one of those weird things that you can relate to in this human way, even though you know it's just an inanimate object here. And I quite like the fact the one at the back is just slightly out of focus. So your concentration is very much onto the, so we say, nail characters at the front here. So yeah, it's a bit of fun, but it's also, I think, been thought about well, how you take it, this kind of object here, and make something in it that you can relate to as in a sort of human format. So we'll hold on to that one for a second, please. Right, you called. Well, of course, we've got to call it that. Right. Okay, a very, very large sheep. Maybe you come up very, very close to it here. And yeah, it's sort of looking straight at you here, and sort of, I think the light you've got is quite a soft light here, and certainly captured the quite sort of ragged sort of effect of its, is it fur? Yeah, it's fur, I guess, you're on a sheepskin, isn't it? Yeah, and that sort of texture that you get in it here. Like its hoofs are sticking out the front here, and it's quite interesting because often you see pictures of sheep, you see them standing up, and you never actually get to see the sort of clove, the hoofs on them. So quite a good angle to have it from here. Yeah, the green and the blue against the sort of slightly dirty white, I guess, of the sheep here stand out well. And I think it's a slight upward angle here, and he's just sort of looking at you quite curiously here, which I think works quite well as well. It's a bit on the right hand side. I'm not sure if it's a bit of old bark or something rather unpleasant, but we won't dwell on that. Perhaps the grasses at the front, in some ways, have become a little bit distracting because they are blurred. And you sort of put them right at the front as you're leading. And in a way, you keep looking at them and not at the sheep really. So maybe they either need to go, most of them, or perhaps they need to be sharp here as well. But yeah, I say he's on the skyline. He's dominating the picture here. And I'd say in terms of colour, it works. Just not quite so sure a bit about the bit at the front. So we'll go a 14 on that one, please. Right. Yeah, it's a lovely horse, isn't it? Rearing up there, and they very elegant when they do that. I mean, if you were sat on its back, it probably wouldn't be so much fun, unless of course you sort of trained to sit on a horse, or it's what it does in, like, if you're in a film or something. But here it's certainly very magnificent, and the balance they do when they do this is quite incredible, because they're quite big and you think they would just fall over, but they don't. They balance and they come down. And you get a sort of feeling of free spirit here, don't you, with the mane blowing out and the slightly wild eye coming across here against this very moody background. And I think this one works in mono. I think it works in colour as well, because it's all about the magnificence of the horse and the muscle and everything like that. And it looks like it's in a stable, as you can see the straw in the background here. But again, I think the background works here. It's a kind of mottled background here, but it allows this horse to stand out. I suspect he might be a dappled grey or something, because he's got quite a lot of black specks in him as well. Because there's a catch light in the eye that you can see. I think that's good. I think you need that to keep the eye alive. And it's very focused, because you tend to go to the head and look at it. So I think you did need that catch light in the eye very much. Good sharpness throughout, good exposure here. So I think that part all works very well. The other thing I think is a little bit of a shame that we're missing a little bit of the ear on the left-hand side. It's probably the angle you're taking out, which just means it's missing here, but I think you'll just complete the picture. But apart from that, I think it works pretty well. So I'll go for 16 on that one. Excuse me, I drink my gin, water. Yeah, this is rather charming, isn't it? It's, again, a bit of a sort of watercolour kind of effect, I think you could say. And they're very flattering colours to each other. I mean, it's almost like the lily is kind of blending into the background. Not so much the middle part, but the sort of the leaves are blending into the background. But they don't get lost. They're still coming out, and you can still appreciate their colour and form very much so. And I think the choice of colours in the background, I think, works. The greens and the pinks are complementary to the flower itself. I don't know what it was like in its original form. Possibly, I think, again, it probably would have been quite strong. Obviously, this is what we've been presented with. We have retained our sharpness on it here, you know, right from the bottom. I think that's important, because the leaf right in the middle is coming straight at you. I think you needed that sharpness, because it's forming quite a lead into the middle of the picture here. And you've got some attractive shadows on the petals themselves. So just give some form and sort of shape to it here as well. It's almost in the middle, but I think it works in the picture here. We go a 16 on that one, please. Right. Good old Felix Stowe. Yeah, good sunset, isn't it here? I think it's a sunset. I could be wrong. It could be sunrise, but it's got sort of sunset sort of colours, oranges. Yeah, lovely colours in the sky. Those oranges and greys that you get against the sort of blue sky here, and good contrast in sort of coloration and tone here. Yeah, and I like the lead in here. Well, they're quite hard things to take, I think, with these. The way they lead into it here, it's finding the right viewpoint and the right sort of angle to take them out, because on their own they can be, they're sort of like rocks, and you think, what do I do with them here? But I think our photographer here has used that curve well. There's this little bollard at the end here, and I like the way it's against the sky here. the way that it's against the orange and the grey here. So it stands out against the sky at the back here. And also like the leading on the left hand side here, the rocks are almost not a they're almost on a sort of diagonal coming into this curve here as well. So you've got a contrast here as well. I think important to have the sort of the pole at the end here, the little triangle on top. It does give you a sense of scale. It does give you somewhere to go to. But I like the fact that you've got a slight differentiation in the rocks here at the front here as well, just to break up that pattern that you've got going to the area at the back here. That's not quite as strong as some of the others I have, but I still think it works quite well. So I'm going to be very boring and give that one another 16. I'll be stuck on the 16s, I think. Okay, yeah, this is a lovely picture, isn't it? Again, you know, very simple, but I think a lot of thought's gone into it. I think the background is flattering here. I think it's got a slight pink tone to it, which obviously goes with the little vase here and the, I don't know what sort of flowers they are, but like sort of bluebells, but they're obviously not bluebells, but they're a bluebell type of flower. But so the colour of the vase, the colour of the flowers all goes together well. And you've got this rather attractive reflection in the bottom here, just showing a hint of what you've got above the vase itself. I like the fact you've got it sort of on the first third and the way you've got this diagonal of the flowers here as well. I don't think you needed all of the reflection here. I think you've got enough here to tell us, you know, what it's about here, and it does give some sort of base here. I think if you didn't have that, it'd be sort of floating in the picture here. So I think that reflection is really, really important here. But yeah, again, good exposure, good sharpness here as well. And I say just a simple thing. The flowers, you know, the way the flowers fall, I think works. You know, they fall sort of, you've got two that sort of fall one way, you've got the others falling the other way. So you've got that interesting contrast here as well. So that one's held back as well. Ooh, sea view in the snow. Now that could be, I don't know, it could be sea view in the Isle of Wight, I'm not sure. It could be sea view somewhere else. There are lots of sea views, I think, in the UK. But I know this says a sea view in the Isle of Wight, but I don't recall those huts in sea view. I thought it was more of sort of a muddy harbour, so perhaps not. Anyway, it looks cold, doesn't it? And I can't see any footprints, so perhaps you're the only photographer there. And maybe it's just the birds or something that have been on the snow here. But yeah, certainly cold feeling here. Quite an overcast day. You've got this kind of quite dull sky and things like that. But so I think it, you know, it's quite a sort of a pastel kind of sea here. I think in a way you didn't really necessarily want loads and loads of sun because you know, a little bit of colour. It's almost like a little pastel crayons, isn't it? Just stand out against those sort of very muted whites and greys here. So I think that sort of combination works quite well, that sort of toned down pastel feeling about it. And I think, you know, obviously there's no people there, no birds, no nothing. So I think it's fortunate you've got some texture on the snow here as well. Okay, you lose it at the back a little bit. I don't think it matters because the bit you're looking at, first of all, is the first bit at the front, and gradually like the huts, you sort of lose detail as it goes towards the back of the picture. So I think the balance of where you've got the detail works here. Again, good sharpness here, a good exposure here. I suppose you could say that the huts almost cut the picture in half, but I think actually in this case it does work okay. So we're going to go for 17 on that one. Right, okay. Yeah, it's a picture all about clocks, I suppose. Cogs and things, I think is the word here. I'm not sure if that's sort of cobwebs in things like that or whatever it is. But I think they're quite hard things to take, aren't they? Because, you know, at which point do you sort of focus on it here? But yeah, I think this works quite well. I mean, I think, you know, you've used the central part here. You've given us some extra interest here. You've got these sort of lines coming across. I don't know whether, say, they're cobwebs or it's the workings of the clock or whatever here that are going across here, or whether it's, you know, it's with left there and something's growing through. I'm not too sure. Or it's on someone's hand. I can see some more hairs at the top, so possibly it's on someone or something like that. And that's what you're seeing. It's one of these clock faces that has all the hairs.
Eye.
Huh? Sorry?
So it looks as though it's an eye.
It could be an eye, but someone said it's a clockmaker. Right. So yeah, I quite like that you've got the centre bit and you've got these sort of two cogs either side. I quite like the fact you've got them on an angle here. I think that adds interest to the picture here. Fortunately, you've kept the outside of it just about in here. I think that sort of frames the middle of the picture here. I'm slightly sort of worried about the sort of hairy bits on the top. So I don't know if it's to do with someone's arm or it's a plant or something here, but I do find slightly when I'm looking at it, I get a bit distracted by it here. And I did kind of wonder in a way if we should have zoomed in closer here, perhaps one of those cogs on the left hand side here, sort of made more of a picture of that, and really kind of emphasize that in the picture itself, because that seems to me an interesting area here. So 14 on that one, please. Right. Pomegranates and grapes, right. Yeah, I could fancy some grapes later on. And you put them up. Yeah, this has been done, I think, quite well again. Again, still a bit challenging here. They always sound like they're easy, they are not. You know, you have to think about the positioning of things, the sharpness and exposure, and the props that you're going to use. So I think in terms of the fruit that you've used in the arrangement, I think that works. You know, you've got reds and purples, and obviously purples are made up of red and blue. So you've got you know, a good colour palette there, so to speak. And I like the way that you've got the pomegranates, one sort of standing out white, one on its side, and inclusion of the two grapes on the left hand side. And I like the way it falls over the wooden sort of base that you put it on here. Very black background here. Don't think that matters because the fruits stand out. I think the lighting you've used has brought out the shape and the textures very well of the fruit. Okay, it's got a bit of highlight on it. I think pomegranates probably have quite a shiny skin, so I think that's quite acceptable here. Now again, I don't know if this is zoom. The area sort of beneath the base looks very, very dark. It could be zoom, but I think it looks a little bit of it's floating in midair. So that's the only shame about this, I think. But I have the benefit of the doubt here, say, because we're on Zoom and you don't always see it, and unfortunately it does do that sometimes. But apart from that, I think it works very well. So we'll go with 17 on it. Right. It's that wintry feel again, isn't it? And I think this could be possibly in Norfolk. I'm probably completely wrong here. It looks like an old windmill with no sails on it anymore. But yeah, it looks like early morning. You've got that sort of, you know, slanting light going across here. And again, I think it could be quite difficult subject fields. I mean, you sort of look and you've got to pick out a bit, and you've got to have something that is in the field or something you go to, I think, to really make the picture stand out. I think in this case, you've got the light and you've also got the inclusion of this rather lovely tree on the left-hand side. And it's kind of at that stage where it's got some leaves, but it's not so much you can't enjoy the shape of that tree very much. And, you know, when you look at you know, the lines sort of lead to the tree diagonally across it here. And I think it works very well. And I like the contrast with the mist riding off the field here as well, just where the light is coming through. And it's interesting because the tree looks, I mean, the tree probably isn't as big as the windmill, or perhaps it is, but it looks much bigger, but it doesn't overpower the buildings at the back here. It's sort of complementary to it here. Do you need anybody in it? I don't think so. I think it's all about sort of nature and how man sort of put his mark on nature almost here. Again, kind of an overcast sky. I don't think you wanted a bright sort of sky here. I think you wanted that overcast sky so you can enjoy the feeling of the mist and that lovely sort of texture on the ground itself, the soil, and the way the mist is just rising here. Another one held back. We've got to have a boat. We've got to have a boat, haven't we? It's Essex and it's Mersea, right? Again, it's maybe some sort of treatment going on. I'm not sure. I could be totally wrong, and someone's probably cursing me. But yeah, I think it works. You know, this little smack or something maybe. Kind of missed that this year because we've all been a bit sort of stopped from going out very much, and I've seen the barges a few times, but it's been a very mixed year for them, I think, in terms of getting out on the water. So yeah, so it's nice. It'll be nice when they get back sailing again, because there's something lovely about going on a barge. You just sort of sit there and you get fed, and you just go up and down, and it's just a totally relaxing thing. So it's very nice to do. Yeah, so this one, I say, very muted background here. They've got hints of white clouds and coloration in here, so it's not a totally blank background, which I think works quite well. It's quite a simple background here, but Again, it's reflected in the water here, and I like the colour of water. You've got sort of different shades in it. You've got a darker area at the front and a lighter area going to the sky here. And I do like that little reflection here of the sails that you've got of the little smack, I think, going across. A couple of people on it here. They're doing something, I think, perhaps still pulling the sails up. They're not overpowering here, but they do give a sense of scale here. And they do tell you that this is a boat that's being sailed out here into the water here. Okay, not another boat in it here, doesn't really matter. Not a space behind it, but there's enough space in front. In this case, I don't think it matters. I think it, you know, it feels like a boat in isolation here, and someone's just taken out for a day and enjoying themselves against a sort of peaceful looking day here. So 17 on that one, please. It is a ladybird. I had quite a few of them in the garden earlier in the year, a little glut of them. In fact, they were all in the bushes at the back. When we cut them down, we found all sorts of beasties lurking in there, and ladybirds was one of them. But yeah, I think this has been done well. I don't think they're always the easiest thing to photograph. They look it, but they've got these very shiny shells on them here, so I guess you get an awful lot of reflection. I think this is probably a very close macro, because I don't think they're quite as big as that. So I think we'd run away if we had a garden full of ladybirds that big. But yeah, been captured well. We've pretty much kept the sharpness in it here on the head and the legs. Okay, it goes up a little bit at the back, but I think with the macro that extreme, you're going to get a little bit of it falling off. I think that's to be expected here. I like the leaf that it's on. You kept the sharpness in the leaf, and it's an interesting leaf in its own right, isn't it, with these sort of spiky feathery bits coming out of it here. Yeah, and a good angle of the ladybird itself. Background pretty much out of focus. I think the leaves on the left hand side, they're slightly intrusive, but not too bad. They don't over intrude. I mean, sometimes when you do these pictures, you take them and you find these sort of bits that creep in after you've taken the picture here. But I think this one, works pretty well. Oh, we'll go for a 17 on that one. Right. Okay, I hope you didn't get too close to them. Yeah, again, we've gone for the close up here, a bit like the sheep, really. Possibly the same photographer, who knows? But yeah, it's different, isn't it? I mean, Castle again are one of these things I think are quite challenging. Which bit do you take? The face, the whole body, the backside? Who knows? But yeah, we've got a bit of mystery here, haven't we? We're sort of creeping in. I think we've got 3 there. And I quite like the fact you've got one sort of hidden here. Maybe they're shy or something here. I think it's the one at the back that really stands out because it's against the sky, that blue sky. But also there's that eye poking out. It's almost a bit menacing, really, just looking down at you. And then you look at the one at the front, it looks a bit more benign. And then you keep going to the one at the back here. So you've got this sort of contrast between, well, characters, I guess, in the picture here. Good, fortunately someone's given you a yellow tag and a blue sky. So that stands out here as well. And I think the lighting works. You put a lovely sort of lines and the fur of the animals here as well. We've definitely got lots of sharpness here, which is very important, obviously, because you've got a very, very close up angle here of the animals themselves. But so I think it's the one at the back that really you keep getting drawn to, because it's quite a menacing eye just poking out, looking at you. Does he's quite as strong as some of the others, but I still enjoy it. And I'm not getting that close to cattle, I don't think, ever. 15 on that one, please.
Sorry, what was it, Joe? Sorry.
15, sorry.
Sorry.
I'll shout a bit louder next time. Right. Peaceful. Okay. Yeah, I think we've got a few mono tonight. Yeah, this is a rather charming study, isn't it, of this young child? And I think sometimes babies are quite challenging to take. I mean, often, some of you see pictures, they're all a little smiling and the background's horrible and everything. And I think people sort of forget that even though a child is young, the background of what you do is still important to allow that sort of character to come out. So I think doing it in mono here, it doesn't detract from the child. There's no colours that distract you. Okay, it's a little bit of pattern on the sheet that they're on, but it doesn't detract too much. It's quite a subtle kind of thing here. Background again is sort of out of focus, quite flattering, and attractive skin tones on the child's face here, which I think work pretty well. Maybe he's just had a bath or something. Hair looks a little bit wet, and he's just going to sleep here. So yeah, it's quite an interesting study. I would say possibly the hand is that maybe you need to go back a little bit with the hand, because it's, I mean, I think it's a baby, isn't it? And the hand looks quite big for a child that age. It's sort of jumping out at you, which I think is a bit of a shame. And also the elbow at the back is losing a little bit, it's going a little bit base white here, in its sort of skin tones here. But the skin tones on the face and the hair, I think work very well. It's just perhaps the hand and I say the elbow, which I don't think are quite so strong. But overall, you know, I think the picture works quite well. So go 15 on that one, please. Oh, Shingle Street. There's a great place. Yeah, it's the sort of place where you slide on the shingle, isn't it? And yes, it could be a bit of a challenge getting back up again, I think, if I recall. I don't know how far out you are from this. Looks like you're quite a long way sort of across the shingle here, because that white building is a long way in the distance. But yes, yeah, it's an interesting sort of thing. If you've got 3/4 sky here, 1/4 landscape, but I think the balance works well here. And I think it works because you've got the right lighting here. You know, you can't necessarily see the depth of the shingle here, but you can sort of see it. And I like the layers of the grasses and the shingle coming across here as well. I think it helps the light you've got on the white building. Really makes it stand out, and you're very much drawn to it at the back here. And I think also that cloud that you've got sort of sweeps towards it as well. So you're led very much towards it. And it's a very dramatic sky, very stormy kind of day. And I think you're offset by, I think, possibly a little building on the right-hand side here. But I think it's the lighting and the way that it's getting that white building that really makes you sort of go to that part of the picture here. So it's quite a brave thing to do to make it like that, but I do think the picture works. So we'll hold on to that one, please. Right. Yeah, again, a very delicate study here, isn't it? I'm not sure what sort of flowers they are, or whether you arranged it yourself, or someone did it for you. I don't know, but it's very beautiful, isn't it, the way it's been done? And the way the colours have been thought about, the pinks and the purples and the whites, all goes together very well. And again, I think the photographer's thought about this. You know, you've got this very pale background, but it's a whitish background, but it's not a really stark white. So it doesn't overpower the flowers here, which are quite delicate colours. And I like the way they're almost sort of pouring out of the jug here. And again, the white jug is just a slightly different white from the background and the flower, so it stands out here as well. And good lighting, I think. Got some lovely shadows here, and it's giving the shape on the jug here as well, and on the flowers. And I like the sort of diagonal sort of curve of the flowers itself. Okay, it's quite a sort of an upright letterbox shot here, but I think it works very well. I'm not sure I can say really about that one, really. Yeah, I think it works very well. So we're going to hold that one back. Right, I'm sure I saw that one earlier. Right. Yeah, this is the one that we've had too much to drink. Your eyes go funny, I think. Yeah, this is sort of, I don't know, it's an effect really, how you've done this. It looks like you've taken this sort of the shoreline and given it a lot of twists and turns. It's a bit like one of those rides that you get, you know, like the twirlers or something, and they go inwards and outwards here. That's what it reminds me of, that kind of feeling here. I think the first thing you tend to look at is the orangey bit going to the centre, because that's your sort of central point that you go to. And I quite like that sort of wave that goes towards it here, and the colorations that you've got going for it. And when you keep looking at it, then you start to think it's hair coming out of it, almost like someone's hair coming, that's sort of floating about here. And then again, you keep looking, you see another thing sort of feeding into it here as well. In some ways, you almost got perhaps too much of the other stuff here. And although you sort of lead into it, in some ways, some of the areas perhaps lead out a little bit, and you get sort of perhaps dragged away a little bit from the essential area here. In some ways, the sort of bit in the middle, I think, is the strongest bit, and also where the blue feeds into it here as well. Perhaps some of the bits around the outside, perhaps you pull away a little bit from that central area. But I like the coloration and the idea of it here. I say maybe I think it's just about too much in it here. 14 on that one, please. Right. Okay. Yeah, I've got a few flower studies tonight, I think. Yeah, again, a slightly different point of view. Very good background again, is sort of mottled grey. matches very well with this sort of delicate pinks and the greens of this flower. I like the fact you've got a diagonal stem coming in. Again, we've got the sharpness and the exposure is right. I don't know whether it's a plant that's perhaps sort of nearing end of its life here, or anything like that. But it's still very delicate, very, you know, very attractive here. And I like the fact you can still see inside a couple of flowers here. We can still see the detail inside. And in fact, when you look at it, you can see some are open, some are shut. But I think it's the fact you've allowed us to see the inside the flowers that gives it that extra strength in the picture here. So we'll go a 17 on that one, please. I told you to make my life hard. Right. Yeah, again, lovely study. This red deer just caught at the right moment here. Obviously not looking at you, perhaps they spotted something aware, but they're very alert, aren't they? Look at the ears and the angle of the head here. And again, you know, quite sort of flashy lighting here. Certainly brought out the sort of roughness of the fur coming down here, but also the sort of delicacy of the head here as well. But again, we've got the all important catch light in the eye to give it that extra bit of life there. And so, like the sort of the wariness of the deer coming across it. It doesn't really matter that it's not looking at you. You know, it's sort of got that feeling that something is going to happen, and it's very, very wary about it. Yeah, a lot of stuff around it here. I don't really sort of soften the background and the area around it so the deer stands out. I think possibly it has been, but I think it works quite well. You know, it does allow him, I think, to stand out in the picture frame here. I think sometimes when you do these things, you've got to be careful with it, because if you make it sort of a little bit fuzzy, it can just sort of be distracting from the deer. But I think in this case, you've got the sort of the softening right in the picture frame. Oh, so another one held back. I'm sorry. Right. Okay. I don't know where the M building is, apart from in London, but yeah, this works in mono. I think modern architecture does, and very stark against the sky here. And I don't think you wanted too much sky, but what we have got is interesting. We've got some good clouds here, you know, providing sort of softness against the harshness of the buildings here. And again, with these buildings, it's where do you take them, and where do you know, which ones do you take? And I think this one we've chosen a good range of buildings here, a good range of angles here. We've got sort of rectangles, and you've got triangles, and you've got sort of I don't know, almost like 1920s kind of buildings. So you've got an interesting range of buildings here. I think you're probably right to keep the triangular one in the middle here. I think it's the one you're drawn to, and the fact that it points upwards, that sort of shape, I think sort of draws you into the sky here. Yeah, you've got some cars and buses on the bottom, so we know that it's a sort of active area here, but it does give a sense of scale here, and we know there's a human activity going on here as well. In some ways, the building on the right, I mean, obviously it's probably a huge building. It's a pity we can't see the top of it here. I think, you know, because it's, again, you know, we tend to look upwards here, and we sort of want to see, we want to see the top, and when we don't, it kind of it kind of is not so good, because we can't see it, but we want to, you know, we want to see that top. We want to see where it ends and where its position is in relation to the rest of the buildings here. So I think that's perhaps its weaker point in the picture here. But again, good blacks and whites in it, good exposure, good sharpness here. So it's just perhaps, you know, cropping the building at the top doesn't make it quite as strong as it could be. So I'll go with 15 on that one, please. Hi. This poor old lighthouse here. I'm surprised it's still standing, and I guess maybe that's a water storm coming up at it here, and they're captured at the right moment here. Powerful coming across here, and again, I think this works in mono. Again, it probably work in colour, but mono, you know, there's no distractions. You just enjoy the water. And the sort of the textures of the water, and always greys and whites coming out across in it here as well. And just a hint a bit at the bottom here, I don't think we needed to see masses and massive bit. We know it's the sea, we know it's the water. What we wanted to see was this great big splash, and this poor little sort of lighthouse was just being almost sort of smashed to bits by it. But it stands strong, doesn't it? Despite all that, it's still standing up, sturdy, and, you know, against the battering of the waves and everything like that. I like the fact it's got a little bit of light in it here. Just makes it stand out just a little bit more. Again, no people, no surface, no nothing. Don't think it really matters. I think we've got all the elements we need in it. So another one held back, please. Right, isolation. With someone, we've got to do it, haven't we? Yeah, this is an interesting idea. Again, thought out very well, I think. Obviously, these two in the back are hiding, and I'm not sure that, again, it's one of those things you could put a human factor to it, isn't it? You know, one isn't talking to the other one, and they're sort of hiding from each other, and they're hiding from the one at the front. So there's this kind of strange element to it here as well. Again, I think it's been thought well out. You know, the background is flattering. You can see through the glass jars very well, and you know they look quite sort of. Pairs have been around a little while here. You can imagine they're quite old pairs and they're having this conversation or not. So there's a little bit of character in here as well. I like this one at the front here. Very topical. It's got its own little mask here as well. And it's been sent to Coventry. But again, I think it's in the right position. It's on the third. It's separated from the jars. And it's almost trying to talk to the other two, and it's getting nowhere. It's been put in one place on its own. So yeah, a bit of fun, but also very well thought out, I think, as well. 17 on that one, please.
That's actually the halfway point. I don't know if you want to pause here and a quick break, or do you want to do a few more?
It's up to you. If you had enough of listening to me and look at my ugly face.
What do you think, Phil? Should we stop here, or should we have a...
You can make me work.
Have a quick 5-minute comfort break, if that, everybody.
Yeah, okay. Well, if we reconvene at about our pass, about 22 minutes past at the moment, by the clock up there. Okay, that's the shades brown, that one, I think.
Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah, start.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Okay. See if anyone else is back, that's all. I don't want to stop without them. Right, okay. I assume they're coming back. Right. Yeah, this one, again, I thought it's been done very well. All these lovely shapes of bottles and jugs. And like the fact you've got this sort of 3 brown ones, and you've got the sort of clear one at the back here. And also obviously the clear handle you've got here as well. And yeah, these are quite difficult. You've got to pick the right shapes here and the size and everything like that. So I think, you know, that sort of different shapes here works very well. I like the fact you've got this square one at the back and this round one at the front. I think the contrast works pretty good. Again, very good lighting on this one here. Really thought about it. Certainly brought out the shapes of the bottles and the textures, and you can see right through them here as well. And I like the fact you've got this sort of golden ball on the one at the back here, which contrasts very well with the one on the left hand side. Again, good background here. It's very pale, very muted, but does certainly allow those bottles and jugs to stand out. And like the fact you've got this, I don't know whether it's actually in the bottle itself or whether you put it in some way, but this kind of almost seascape in this bottle at the front here. Sort of fits it very well. So yeah, I think again, you know, it's been done very, very well. The only thing perhaps I would say, it doesn't have a base, and perhaps they are floating a little bit in midair. So it's still going to be a holdback one though. Oh, another one. Where's everybody? Everyone's disappeared. I can see them. I can see them all now.
I'm still here.
Right, okay. Okay. So I was, yeah. Okay. Next one, please. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. It's for some reason it's just locked up. So just
Okay.
a couple of seconds.
I'll just drink my tea.
Yeah.
Oh, he's having one of its.
That's better.
Okay. Yep. Groins, posts, I don't know what you call these things. Obviously at the sea, look like a little bit of a knackered state, really, don't they? It wasn't battered about and in a state of decay, and you know, probably going to fall down at some point. So yeah, you certainly capture that feeling of sort of decay coming across here. With this sort of post on the right hand side, and I quite like the fact you've included these ones at the front which are, you know, even more decayed state than the ones at the back. They do provide quite a good strong lead in here. There's a bit of a diagonal with the sort of posts and the base here as well, leading into the ones at the back. Again, possibly you've done something with the water and the sky here, and they're quite diluted here. You have got some detail in the water here, not a massive amount, but I think maybe your idea was to really show us the sort of decay and the sort of shape of the old sort of I don't know what posts, I suppose, breakwaters maybe. Yeah, I think, you know, the ones using the ones at the front and the smaller ones at the back here do give you a sense of scale about how sort of big and how strong these things were once upon a time. 15 on that one, please. Right. Yeah, a bit of basketball. Looks a bit of an unfair contest here. Looks like you've got a little bloke on the right hand side and a big bloke on the left hand side. And I don't think he's got a chance here, but he's trying. He's trying. I think he's hoping he'll drop the ball and he can grab it. But yeah, certainly capture the action here very well. You can't necessarily see everything of the face here, but it's that sort of contrast we see, say, the little man on the right hand side, hands stretching, you know, hoping to get that ball against the sort of tallest person on the right hand side. And you know, it's a bit of a hopeless battle, but you know, you still get that sort of feeling of hope coming across here as well. Again, probably quite a difficult exposure here, but you kept the sharpness, you kept the skin tones very well here as well. I suppose in some ways, perhaps the thing at the top is slightly distracting, but I think, you know, it's a minor point here in the picture itself. So go on 18 on that one, please. Right. I don't know, the shot at dawn refers to the statue possibly, because it's got a, a blindfold, it looks like on the face here. Yeah, again, I think this works quite well in mono. Again, we haven't got the brightest of days. I don't think we needed it really. I think that somber sort of sky and that overcast does suit this kind of, what looks like kind of somber sort of scene that you've got with this figure at the front with a blindfold and these sort of posts behind it here, and the sort of flower arrangements at the front here. So I think that the sort of time of day, the fact that you've got this no leaves on the tree, I think adds that sort of feeling of it being quite a somber, solemn kind of scene here. So I think the angle you've got and the position of the figure is quite good here. It's very much on the forefront, but it doesn't dominate. You know, you can still see what's beyond it and enjoy what's beyond it. You can appreciate the scene that it's in here. And good tonal ranges here. You know, you've got your blacks and your whites and lots of mid-tones here, and particularly in the sky, I think, which is important because it's very easy to lose detail in the sky with monochrome sometimes, and it can be very hard to get detail back once you've lost it. I'm not so sure about having the colour of the flowers. I mean, I understand sort of in a way where you put them in to make them stand out. Perhaps I'd have just had the red flowers with the colour and not the pink ones here. I think they perhaps go a tiny bit distracting here, and they sort of jar a little bit. You've got this quite stark kind of picture here. The red I think would fit in with that, but I don't think the pinks do quite so much. So if I was going to leave the colour in, I think I would just leave the red colours and allow the others to sort of become sort of a grey or a black shade like the rest of the picture here. Yeah, I think it works quite well, but so that does let it down a little bit, I think. So go 15 on that one. And either that's a giant ironing board or a giant sheet, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's a sort of person or it's a figure or something sort of a toy. I'm not too sure, but it looks like it's massive, doesn't it? The angle it's taken at, and it could just overwhelm you. We'd never get it done here. In fact, you can't see the face, but you've just got this sort of hand on the head. Oh my God, what am I going to do here? Tells a bit of a story here as well. So yeah, good idea. Good idea. I like the sort of the idea of the hand on the head. This kind of, you know, this kind of feeling of absolute despair coming across with this enormous thing you've got to do. And you know, because you're sort of looking up it as well, it makes I think the piece of material look absolutely massive as well. And obviously you've got the colour purple behind you, which I guess goes with the thing that they're ironing here. So I think that part of it works okay. You've got that sort of connection between the writing and the material here. And obviously the top that the person is wearing. Not so sure about the other colours here as well. I mean, obviously it's part of the scene, but there are a lot of them here. And after a while, I think they become a little bit distracting, especially perhaps the yellows here. It almost needed a different background here, a plainer background, so you can enjoy the purples more, and just that hint of sort of grey coming off the ironing here as well. So I think the idea of it is great, but I think the background, apart from the writing on the back, I think is a little bit overpowering here. So I'll go with 15 on that one, please. Right. I don't think that's good at good old Mersea or wherever, but it looks cold again, doesn't it? Old snow. I think I saw that for a little while and it didn't last very long, if I recall. It was quite brief. But yeah, again, you know, it's a cold old day, isn't it? And we've got the lovely colours here, quite a muted sort of day in terms of light. But I think, you know, the pastel colours here do stand out quite well against those sort of overcast day that you've got here. And yeah, good sharpness throughout here as well. And I quite the fact you've gone in close to the front one here. Okay, we can't see all of it. It doesn't really matter. We pretty much can enjoy the sort of triangles of the roofs here as they recede into the distance here. A good sky here as well. It's interesting, the clouds. And again, you know, the clouds kind of lead you to the back of the picture. They follow the line of the beach huts here. So that, I think, part works well. Do we need a people in it? Not really. It's about sort of, again, you know, nature and man-made and how they fit in with each other. The only thing it's a bit of a shame for me is the snow here. I don't, again, with it zoom here, but it's lacking in detail here. There's a bit of detail at the sort of front of the where the barrier, the banister is, where the pink building is here, but that sort of big area leads to the back. There's hardly any detail at all that I can see in it here. And I think because we're following it here along with the buildings, we do need to see some more detail in it here. Not necessarily right at the back, but certainly it's sort of in the front bit and maybe towards the middle, because it forms a big part of your right hand side of the picture here. So I think it works to a point, but I say the right hand side perhaps lets it down a little bit in the picture space. So I'll go with 14 on that one, please. Right, GM I think is a geranium, if I'm right. And yeah, I think this has been doing quite well. I mean, you know, it's a difficult thing to do, isn't it? You've got to be able to see the flower through the ice here, which I think we have succeeded here. But we also want to see the texture of the ice, which I think was shown in this picture here. So I think, you know, you've got the balance right here. You've got this sort of muted coming through the ice at the back here, but you've allowed this other sorts of ice which to stand out more at the front here. But we've also got a hint of it on the left-hand side. So we still know it's in ice because it's coming in from the left-hand side and the top. So I think the balance is right here about, you know, the distinctness of the flower that you get here. And again, good exposure and good sharpness here. And I think it's sort of that colour, that lovely sort of orangey, sort of red colour, stands out well against that sort of starkness of the grey-white of the ice here. And I think the lighting has got us help because it's showing the sort of pitted effects of the ice going across the flower here. Is it as strong as something else? Possibly not, but I still think it works quite well. So we'll go with 15 on that one. Okay, yeah, again, I think this works quite well in mono. Don't see many sort of nude pictures, I have to be honest. And I don't think they're the easiest thing to take because, you know, it's sort of about form, isn't it? And lighting, everything like that. But I think the photographer has achieved that here with the lighting they've used. I think maybe they've got water or oil, I'm not too sure, or mud. But certainly the lighting they've used has brought out skin textures and the shape of the body and whatever sort of perhaps substance is being used on them here. I say I'm not too sure what it is. The faces are partly in shadow here. I don't think that really matters particularly because you've got enough detail for us to see sort of how they're looking, and they're almost kind of perhaps in a world of their own here. They're not really sort of engaging with the photographer. in that kind of sense. They're sort of thinking of their own thing. And I quite like the fact that one sort of with their back to you has got their face slightly turned towards you. So you get that interesting side profile of them coming across here. Again, very black background here, but it does allow the figures to stand out. I would say perhaps the hair is getting a little bit lost in the black background here. Again, that could be down to zoom, but it fades a little bit into here, which I think is a bit of a shame. I think if the hair would stand out a little bit more, I think that would add to it here as well. I'm also not sure about the cut-off point as well. I mean, you sort of cut it off sort of 3/4 and we haven't seen the feet. Did we need to take it just to the knee perhaps, or show the feet here as well? Again, I think we're drawn down to the bottom of the picture here. We perhaps want to see sort of the base, so to speak, of the human body, and we're not getting that here. But apart from that, you know, I think, you know, the photographer's thought about the lighting and the pose and, you know, the sort of character it's coming across in the picture here. So I'll go 15 on that one. Yeah, I don't think we'll be doing any sunbathing at the moment. It's a little bit early, but obviously this dragonfly is. And yeah, again, we capture very well. Not these things to capture sometimes. I think you have to get them at the right time when they're perhaps not too lively. Otherwise you get a lot of blur. But this one's been captured. You've got lots of sharpness on it here. Okay, it's going a little bit towards the back here, but again, we've got extreme macro, and I don't think you can get everything totally sharp. I think it would look odd if you get everything sharp. So I think it's acceptable to have a little bit of blur here. Yeah, you've got the exposure, you've got the lighting. So it certainly brings out the details of the body here and the wings. And again, slight diagonal on the twig that's going up here. And I'm glad to see that's got sharpness on it as well. I think that's important because it's a thing that leads you to the wings and the head of the dragonfly. And again, if you look at that, that's got lighting on it. And also you've got some shadow here going across, which gives a bit of extra interest here as well. Background pretty much out of focus here. I suppose you could argue a little bit it's a bit white at the bottom, but I think it's probably I think it's okay. It hasn't gone to base white. So, you know, and also because of its colour, the twig and the dragonfly does stand out. So we'll go a 17 on that one. Right, yeah, got a few still lifes tonight. And again, you know, this is very sort of a bit romantic feeling, isn't it? And autumnal, I would think. And you've got the sort of the leaves that are crinkled up, and they're interesting. I think leaves are interesting when they're like that. They get to that stage. They get that other texture and shape, but still retain their colour. Yeah, so I think it's been thought out. You've got this sort of very sort of sepia background and foreground here, which I think, you know, fits the scene here. These, especially the leaves and the sort of the rotting apple and the sort of bits at the back here. And everything is just fading away, isn't it? But it's still got detail on it here, so you can still enjoy, you know, the shape and form of it here, and you can kind of imagine what it was like in its previous life. But it's still got something that attracts you, something that flatters it, despite the fact that it's kind of fading away. And even the vase itself is a sort of old style vase. You know, it's got this lovely sort of pitted texture to it here, which is complementary to the rest of the picture here. And yeah, and I like the fact you've got a little bit of shadow at the bottom here. Just sort of lifts I think the elements of the picture here up as well. So another held back one, please. Right. I know the feeling. Yeah, I don't know what sort of creature it is. I know it's I can say it could be a tamarin or a monkey, not too sure. But the light's caught it very well, isn't it? You know, the sort of texture of the fur here. And the light has really shown it off, and the lovely colorations in it and the tones and everything else like that in it. Could possibly be in a zoo. I mean, they're all, and you know, they're quite hard because you always get bits behind and glass and God knows whatever here. And we've got a hint perhaps in the background of what it is, but it isn't particularly, it's not too distracting. We've kept it as focus and as detail as much as we can. So we see it, but I don't think it overwhelms here. Yeah, and like the hand here going across the face, you know, possibly tired, had enough, or being stared at, as you say, and it's just, I'm going to hide from people now that I've had enough here. Okay, you can't see all of it here. Don't really think it matters. It's the hand and the face, I think, which is the central part of the picture here. I think that works very well. Certainly the lighting on the hand here really does bring that sort of texture to fur out here as well, and really sort of makes you look at it. Go a 15 on that one, please. Right, okay. Yep. Yeah, this one is really quite amazing sky, isn't it? And yeah, very, very sort of very vivid, isn't it? What's that bouncing back on me? Very vivid orange sky in the background here, and very fierce kind of sunset here reflected in the water. And yeah, I think the coloration is lovely here, and I like the contrast with the water, that orangey water at the back, and that sort of paler, sort of bluey grey at the foreground here. It gives that attractive bit of separation here, and like the fact you've got this, you know, the boat with the sculler on it, just on that sort of line between the orange and the sort of paler blue at the front here. I think they're in the right position here. I think that works very well. Obviously quite a busy scene here. There's obviously a lot in the background here. Don't think it matters so much in the background here. You know, we get a hint of what's the separation here. So we do get a sense of, you know, of what's going on in the background here. It's not such a sort of dark area that you cannot see the sort of boats, the shapes of the boats here. So I think that works quite well. The fact that the masts are going against that sky here as well, so again it defines the background a little bit more. Perhaps the slightly weaker point is this sort of larger boat on the right hand side. I think this is becoming a little bit into the background here, and again it needs perhaps a bit of separation, like our man who's sculling here. In some ways you almost need the picture, perhaps you just have the sculler and not the boat on the right hand side. I mean, I like the reflection of it that's coming across and the way it's going across the water, but I just find it's getting a little bit muddled up with the background here, which I think is the weak point of the picture. So it works at some points, but not 100% here. 14 on that one, please. I wish. Yeah, bit of fun here again, and someone's obviously thought about this one, and yeah, I don't know how they did that. I guess perhaps they got it out of a packet and made it look like that. But yeah, again, I think it's been done well. I mean, the lighting works here, doesn't it? You know, the sort of the lighting you've used has brought out the lovely metal texture here of the grater, and the shape of our potatoes as well, and showing off the colours very well here as well. And it's a bit of humour, isn't it? You can imagine the way you've done it. You can imagine that you've sort of grated this potato and these instant chips have appeared. So yeah, it sort of works quite well. I suppose you could argue there's a little bit of whiteness on the potato here, but I think I can live with it here. I think there's a lot of blackness around it here with nothing really in it. In some ways, the picture perhaps gets a little bit lost in the centre here. Maybe you just needed something, I don't know, to the right of it here. I don't know, sort of a chip that's escaped like that, or a plate or something like that, just to give that extra element in it here. But I like the humour in it. I think the lighting's been well done. I just want to see that extra element just to sort of finish the picture off here, just to fill in some of that black area that you've got. So go a 14 on that one, please. Right. Oh, not a cold one. It's springtime and summer's up soon, folks. Yeah, it's very cold, isn't it, again? And yeah, I think it's been captured well. Again, you've got this quite snowy background here. It's all coming down, this sort of sturdy Highland cow stuck in the middle of the field here. And again, it's got a flattering background. You can see that it's bad weather, but he does stand out against it very well. I think it's because he's got this lovely brown colour here. He's complementary to the area that he lives in, and the grass is on his very sort of green, soft green browns as well, which allows him to stand out. I think also that he's got these great sort of rather majestic horns, again, really sort of joy to the animal itself, and very well placed on the sort of the third, and also on a slight slope here as well. And I like the inclusion of the tree on the left-hand side, just that shadowy tree coming through the snow that you've got here. Another one held back, please. Right. Okay, yeah, again, it looks like the end of some breakwaters that did exist once, and unless it's right underneath the water, the way the water's going here. It's a bit of a wild day actually, from what you can see, and sort of coming across here. You can just get a hint. I know you sort of muted the water down a lot here, but you still get the feeling there's some sort of movement and quite fierce water coming across here. Yeah, again, you know, I think the lighting works quite well. We've certainly got a wet feeling on these sort of these posts coming across here, and I quite like they sort of fade into the background here. You know, they become narrow as you go into the background here as well. Perhaps again, you needed something else here again, maybe a taller object or seaweed or something, just to give that extra element, I think, in the picture here. So, you know, there's some interesting parts, but again, it just needs, it's a sort of story, and it just needs these extra elements, I think, to give us more of the story that we're getting perhaps in the picture here itself. So 14 on that one, please. Right. Good old Pagan Street. Yeah, again, this works well in mono, doesn't it? And it must be very quiet on the tube in the last year, I should think, and all very socially distanced as well, this one, isn't it? And yeah, again, this works in mono. Probably quite difficult lighting here. Again, I don't know on Zoom, it's just made it a little bit darker than it is, but you know, quite a difficult lighting. But I like the fact you kept the detail in the sort of arches above the people here, and the way the light is glinting off the walls here. Again, you can't see the people's faces here, but you get the sort of feeling of isolation, the fact that, you know, they're not anywhere near each other. And it's almost kind of this kind of British thing as well, isn't it? That we don't talk to one another anyway. If we don't have to sit next to someone, we won't. So, and we were kind of like it pre-COVID, I think. But I think COVID has probably made it worse here. And I like the fact you've just got one seat on its own, just sort of waiting for someone to come in there. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the times that we live in here as well, but it also reminds me that we're quite British and we don't talk to one another. So we'll go 17 on that one, please. Right. We're down at the seaside. I can't wait to get back to the seaside. I've missed going to the seaside rather a lot, so I should look forward to going. Yeah, again, you know, quite an overcast day here, but quite a dramatic sky. We've got some interesting clouds. I like the way they sort of sweep across the sky here. These grey areas and these white areas fit together very well. And again, grinds, I think, are kind of hard something to take. It's finding an angle to take them that sort of adds to them here. And you've got two elements here. You've got the way that it sort of recedes into the background here, but then you've used this post in the foreground as a strong sort of foreground, but also a kind of barrier in a way. It stops us going onwards, but at the same time, it doesn't stop us going onwards here. So it's an unusual thing to see it like that. And normally, when you see it, it tends to start in the middle, and then you see this recession here. So I think using this sort of foreground here, I think sort of adds an extra element to it here. And also you've got a hint of the one behind here. Okay, you can argue it's growing out of the one at the front here. I don't think it matters, but you know, we get to it, we can see it, we can come back to this area at the front here. 15 on that one, please. Yeah, I think poppies are wonderful flowers. Things that you can take in various stages, you know, when they sort of, bloom and when they die off, and when they're in this kind of stage here. And yeah, again, very well done. Like the diagram of the stem here, lots of sharpness and sort of prickles on the stem itself. And yeah, the lighting again, it's really showed out that sort of lovely sort of wavy shape that you get inside poppies here. And I'm glad to see that's got sharpness here as well. I think, you know, I mean, poppies are obviously upright, but I think the diagonal works in this picture here. And I think we might even have a hint of water on the outside edge here. Yeah, again, you know, quite tightly cropped in here. But I think that works because, you know, you haven't got a distracting background. It's just about the poppy, the textures and the colour here. It's a difficult one. We'll go a 17 on that one, please. Right. Okay, yeah, again, you know, this is interesting, isn't it? You've got this, again, we think it's all about the elements here, of what we're going to use. And I think the combination of the cup and the, I think it's standing in its own little stand here, I think worked well. And I like the fact you can see the reflection, what I assume is a bit of glass here. And again, you can enjoy the shape of it here. probably quite a challenging lighting here with the black and the whites, but I think we've kept the exposure right and we've kept detail on the white objects here as well. And the lighting we've used has given us shape and shadows on it as well, so we can enjoy that sort of shape even more. I quite like the thing about the coffee beans coming in here, sort of floating down to it here. I like the way they sort of break up as they hit towards the bottom of the cup here. The red works quite well in terms of the colour and contrast here, and obviously you've included the red line on the outside as a contrast to go with the red spoon. I'm just not sure about it as the spoon itself. It comes from a different era. The other looks sort of quite elegant and quite dainty, and the other spoon just looks a bit sort of a little bit sort of not cheap, that's the wrong word, but it doesn't kind of go with that sort of elegance of this cup at the bottom here. So I think that's its weak point in the picture here. But the idea of a conceal light and the way it flows down, I think works very well. But it's just, I say, the spoon to me doesn't work quite as well as the rest of it. So 15 on that one, please. Yeah, looking down, I suspect on this one here, and looks very empty, doesn't it? And socially distanced again, maybe, and it looks like some sort of effect's been applied to this. I have no idea what. Don't think it matters. It's giving it a sort of slight paint effect, sort of impressionist impact almost, really here. But I like, you know, the way you look down on it here, and I think, you know, the inclusion of the people, the angle of them here, I think is interesting here as well. And I like the fact you've got some people who are going the other way. You know, you've got a vertical sort of stream of people, and you've got some horizontal people just breaking that sort of vertical line of people up. Again, quite amusing. I think you've got some, maybe you've put some monochrome into the side of the buildings, but we've allowed the lovely reds of the roofs to come across. So I think that sort of colour zone works quite well. And I'm glad you've left the, that we don't go out of the picture at the end. We've got to stop. We've got a black sort of area at the back which stops us going out of the picture and brings us back to the foreground here as well. So I think that works quite well. Perhaps I'll take maybe a little bit off the front, or maybe we need another figure at the front. Just, there's a little bit of space at the front. Maybe it just needs filling. But again, it's a minor point. Again, don't think it's quite as strong as some of the others. Nevertheless, still going to enjoy the picture. So a 15 on that one. Right, certainly is, and maybe this one's been in earlier, I don't know, but it's obviously seen better days, I think. It's the old pier, and yeah, pounding away, waves all splashing away, and you've got a sort of sky. It's beginning to look a bit menacing, isn't it? And there's hints of it being broken up by the grey coming across it here, so you can sort of see it fitting in with the sea that you've got. And I think the lighting here as well has just lit up the water hitting the side of the old railway piers here as well. So you certainly got that feeling of sort of drama and sort of light coming across here. And again, I like the inclusion of the, I don't know what you call those things, like baskets with sort of a post going through them, beacons maybe. Again, it gives you a sense of scale. It does give you somewhere to go into. It stops you going out of the back of the picture here. I'm not sure this has been sharpened a little bit too much. It looks a little bit as if it's lost some detail on the water itself. Again, it could be zoom, but that's sort of what I'm seeing on the screen here. It's become a little bit flat maybe, which I think is a bit of a shame, because you know, I think we need to see sort of that sort of texture and that foaming even more than we are at the moment. But I like the idea of, say, to me, it just looks a little bit perhaps sharpened up, maybe a tad too much. A 14, please. Right. Okay. Yeah. Again, we don't always see birds in monochrome here. Again, I think this works very well. Certainly captured at the right moment, doing what they do. Yeah, and the lighting works, doesn't it? You've got lighting underneath and on top and on the bill here. And I like the fact you've got a hint of, I think, water on the bill itself. I don't, again, whether you've perhaps softened up the water a little bit here. It looks quite a sort of soft water here, allowing the bird to really stand out here. I suppose some ways, I say I don't know for sure. It just looks it from where I'm sort of sitting here. Maybe in a way we didn't sort of need to see that. Maybe we need to see sharper water here. I don't think it would detract from the bird itself, and it would perhaps be more sort of natural with the bird to see that kind of water. Nevertheless, we captured very well. and good exposure, good sharpness, and so you've got lots of lovely detail in here. It's just perhaps the water to me, it doesn't, you know, perhaps lets it down just a little tiny bit. So we'll go a 17 on that one, please.
13. 17.
17, yeah, sorry. Right, someone likes getting up early, unlike me. I'm usually going to sleep when it's time to get up. So yeah, again, you know, perhaps autumn time, judging by the colour of the trees here, sort of golden sort of browns and oranges you've got coming across here. And it's probably just after sunrise. You've got quite a lot of blue in the sky here. But yeah, it's quite a peaceful scene. Say with the lovely sort of oranges of the trees against the blue sky here and the lovely reflections in the water here. So I think that sort of serenity, I think works well in the picture here. Okay, nobody about here, it doesn't really matter. It's all about sort of nature really, and sort of early morning sort of calmness that you get here. I can understand you left a bit of the foreground here. Obviously, it's the base of the lake or the river. It's not such an interesting area, and I don't know where you can sort of crop it slightly, maybe lose maybe half of it. So it's sort of a bit of a muddy bank. It hasn't got the interest in. Once you get to the water, there's more interest. I quite like that you've got these little leaves at the front here, just on the edge of it. And so maybe sort of cropping part of that bank will allow that sort of leaves to stand out more. And then you get to the area at the back even quicker than you would sort of see it now. So I like the serenity of it. I like sort of the leaves at the front, but I think, you know, the excess of foreground, I think perhaps lets it down a little bit. 14 on that one, please. Yeah, this one looks like an old perhaps I don't know, sort of villa or something like that that was there, and you can't use the pool anymore and it's been drained out and this kind of thing here. Or maybe it's a pool and it's very shallow and you just paddle in it, I don't know. I can see the no diving sign, so I guess it's a warning, it's not that deep and keep away. Maybe I don't know whether that's sort of part of the picture here where you put some frames around it to sort of highlight the arches that you've got here, to sort of frame it in this kind of archway from top to bottom here. Quite possibly, but it's an interesting scene, isn't it? I mean, you sort of get beyond, it's like a hotel, isn't it? Like the background with the seats and everything like that. There's nobody there. And you don't quite know what it's about. So you don't know whether it's a sort of paddling pool or a swimming pool or whatever, really. It's a bit of a mystery here that you have to try and understand. And in some ways, I think after a while, you keep looking at the water and it sort of overtakes the thing at the background. And in a way, the thing at the background, the sort of scene, the chairs, I think is a stronger part of the water. It seems to me that the water should complement the background, not the other way around, which I think is what's happening here. So 14 on that one.
Right. You've now got, I'll show you the ones you've got held over.
Loads. I've not as many as I think. Okay.
So we go
11.
through them in order and just.
Do you want to go through them?
Yeah.
You go through?
I should be able to go through them, but
Okay.
Oh, that's better.
I think I made my life hard here, I think.
For some reason, it seems harder when you don't have a Zoom and when you're doing it through a projector.
Okay.
So do you want to go through all of them?
Go for all of them, yeah. Yeah. Okay, right. I have made life hard for myself. Okay, shall we go back to the beginning?
Yeah. Right. come on, do something.
Well, they're all very good. So it's quite a hard choice to choose between them here, but I sort of have to sort of choose, I think. Yeah, this one, yeah, very good lighting here, very interesting, and you know, love the tree, the feeling of it here. So we're going 19 on this one. So there isn't much between a lot of them. Yeah, this one's a bit of fun as well, isn't it? And yeah, 19 on this one. I'll come back to that one in a second. Sorry, come back to that one as well. Sorry. An 18 on that one. Sorry, a 19 on that one. Sorry.
Hang on, I might just destroy.
Must
19.
throw you out. An 18 on that one. An 18 on this one. Hang on to that one a second, please. An 18 on that one. And hold on to that one. And that one, hold on to a second. Right, okay. Final decisions, as they say.
I just for a second put the ones you got left.
Yep.
Those are the 5 you got left. So
Okay.
we start with the pink one.
Yep. Okay, next one. Yep, keep going. Yeah. Is that the last one?
Yes, the last one, sorry, yeah.
Oh, okay, right, okay. You want to go back to the beginning, please?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just having that.
Yeah, it's all right. Oh, this is a hard one here. A 19 on that one. A 19 on that one. Go a 18 on that one. A 20 on that one. And a 20 on that one.
Right. Yeah, without being a better bush, we'll go for the in second place is Halstead. And in first place is Mersea.
Oh, well done.
Congratulations, Mersea. Well done.
I don't know if anybody else is keeping the score at all.
I was, but I haven't added them up.
Yeah,
If you use
I
the
have, and it's
spreadsheet,
the
I'll
same.
see that and do it automatically for you.
I've been doing it. I agree with your scores.
Okay, let's just
Hopefully Judy kept up and she got it on the screen.
I haven't kept up. I thought it might be fairly close.
Well done, Barry and Torry, for getting the top marks. Excellent, well done.
That's I don't know if you can read that on the screen, sharing, but
It's fine, yeah.
you can see the authors, the club, and the rest of it on that. Anyway, Jill, thanks a lot for doing the scoring.
No problem.
It must be difficult sort of sitting there with images coming up on your own screen that you've never seen before. And that's it really, I suppose. I don't know where our chairman's gone, whether he wants to propose about tax or anything.
I'm still here, I think. I've been going in and out. I've been going between mobile phones and this internet connection I've had. It's been pretty lousy for me tonight. But I think a big thanks to Jill. So
no problem.
if we can give it a clap, if we can all hear that.
Thank you very much.
Am I still on? I seem to have frozen
You're
up.
still on, yeah.
Oh, we can still hear you.
Okay, well, I'll talk while I'm still talking. I'd like to thank Dick for running tonight. I find these meetings quite difficult because I like the personal interaction. And hopefully at some stage, maybe this year or even early next year, we can all get back together again. So I'd like to thank everyone who's submitted all the images, both from Houston and Mersea. I think there's been a great selection tonight. And I think it's a testament to us all that we've still been able to collect and put all these images together.
Yeah.
It's been a really a hard lockdown year for, I would imagine, most of us. And let's hope we're coming through that now. I think it's been a good evening, good critique from Jill. She's given us a lot of detail throughout all the images, good appraisal, and lots of constructive critique for us to take away and have a look at what we do. And it's nice to see that we share the top marks between both clubs. And it's really good that the marks have come out as close as they have, because it's a bit embarrassing if somebody runs away with it.
Sorry.
Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, on behalf of Houston, I'd like to thank everyone in Mersea for putting this on for us and hosting it for us. And just, I hope that by the time we get to the next round, when it's our turn to host, we can actually welcome you back to Halstead. But thank you ever so much for doing it. It was a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
Jan, I'll send you a copy of the result sheet through if you like.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you. As I say, I have been jotting them down and I have done a quick tot up and I do agree.
Just as well.
Make sure, of course.